oldest cultivated grain in Africa. It's been around 5,000 years. We call it Fonio, some call it Findi. You guys call it Acha in Nigeria. This Michael, my dear colleague, that we've been around. And also Isabel. So Fonio is important because environment right now, as we choose what we're going to eat, every single one of us has that responsibility to think consciously. And ingredients like fonio, many others, just the idea is to diversify our diet, to save biodiversity, and it's only can happen by integrating crops like fonio. Fonio has been growing in the region of Sahel, in the south of the Sahara, from Senegal all the way to Somalia, actually. It's been widespread. And it cooks in 5 minutes, as you're going to see just now. All you need, it cooks like rice in a sense, water. So for about a cup of fonio, I'm going to have 1.5 cup of water boiling. You can go up to 2 cups. You can do 3 cups. There's a saying, fonio never embarrasses the cook. So you will end up either with a porridge or with a couscous-like portion of fonio. And that's what I'm doing today. I want a couscous-like portion for the first course. And for dessert course, I'm going to cook it a second time to have a porridge-like looking, but that's a pudding that I'm doing this time. So I'm doing a fonio couscous-like and a chocolate coconut milk fonio pudding. So I just have to wait for the water to come to a boil, raise my temperature, and meanwhile, I'll let you know about what's coming with the fonio couscous-like. I'm going to make a dish called kaldu. Kaldu is from the south of Senegal. It's the region where my family originates. And it has a Portuguese connotation because there was Portuguese influence in that region. One of the first, that part of Senegal, Casamance, Guinea-Bissau, was Portuguese. The rest of Senegal was colonized by the French. So both those cultures have also brought some influences. Travel, but you bring your culture, and what you bring is usually the food. So this dish is called kaldu, and it's connected to the kaldu that you hear in Portugal, much more flavorful because we take, but we add the African touch to it, and the West African touch is in a very, very exciting way. So what we have added Scotch bonnet in it. Scotch bonnet is chili that has to be used very carefully. You know, if you use it in the sauce, you're in trouble. Here, just put it whole, and I'm not going to break it. I'm just going to let it simmer slowly. In that same broth, there's been tomato and onion cooking for a while until the tomato and the onion almost break down. I've added fish sauce. In Senegal, traditionally, I would use something called yet, which is a fermented dried fish. And the yet is not readily available. So fish sauce that you see in an Asian market works perfectly. So I added fish sauce to bring that fermented flavor out, because fermentation is a big part of West African cuisine. You'll see it in Nigeria. We have dawa dawa and so many iru, so many different ingredients that make it happening. In the meantime, my water is boiling. This I take it at a low simmer, and my water is boiling. I'm going to pour my fonio. Because it's going to go fast. It takes a couple of minutes for the fonio to cook. The water, you return it to a boil briefly. Make sure you turn your heat now at its lowest setting. And that's about it. Within 5 minutes, your fonio will be cooked. I just need a cup here, thank you. So it's kind of steaming and cooking at the same time. And as soon as the water has evaporated, your fonio is ready. It's like the fastest cooking grain. It's also one of the fastest growing cereal. It is nicknamed the lazy farmer's crop for that reason. It grows in poor soil. So the farmers, all they have to do is wait for the rain to arrive. And as soon as the first rain arrives, they just really throw the fonio. They throw the fonio. They go and sit down and wait for the harvest, and it's going to take about fast growing, faster. I'll take another one, actually. I'm going to put 2 of those fish in there. And I close it too, and I let it simmer as well. So I was saying fast drawing and fast cooking. Look, it's cooked. The fonio is ready to be served. All I have to do is fluff it with and close it back. Fluff it, close it back, turn off your heat, and the fonio is ready. So you're going to let this here 2 minutes, and meanwhile, my fish is cooking. And while it's happening, the fish is cooking, I'm going to start making the fonio pudding, chocolate fonio pudding. So I need coconut milk here. And bring the coconut milk to a boil. Put a pinch of salt, vanilla extract, cocoa powder, so not only is a dessert, it's a coconut pudding, but notice, and I forgot, is a nutrition powerhouse. It's gluten-free, it's very, very nutritious. It has 2 amino acids that are deficient in most of the grain, but fonio has it in abundance. And so the most exciting part for us chefs in the community, the fact that fonio is also very versatile because it has a neutral flavor taste when we, but it has a neutral flavor that makes it easy to adapt in so many different styles of cuisines. That's why I'm doing dessert today with the chocolate pudding. If you get a chance to see my last cookbook, the Fonio cookbook, I have a signing tomorrow, but it takes you through the journey and all the possibilities. You can have salads with Fonio, you can bake with Fonio. We have a great purpose flour that works perfectly. So you can do all of those fun things. And in addition to that, you can do desserts with fonio, which is what I'm doing here. So I'm taking some of the fonio that's cooked here, and I'm going to add it to my chocolate pudding. I've had vanilla, I've had coconut milk. You can even have fresh shredded coconut in it to give some texture to it. I'm going to put some cocoa nibs in it as well, just to have the excitement while you're experiencing this dessert. You have all those different layers that are hitting you. Sourcing your ingredient is also very important. So when you choose your cocoa nib, also be mindful of where it's being sourced. Just move this here. And the pudding here is ready. That's all it needed is to be integrated inside the Fonio chocolate pudding. Coconut milk, chocolate, a touch of salt. If you want to sweeten it with a sweetener of your choice, it's your choice. It's up to you. You can use honey, you can use sugar, and you can keep it without any sweetener. So now let's look at our fish here. The fish been cooking for a minute. It doesn't take long either. And we are ready to plate it. What I will do first is put the fonio aside. You have a plate for the fish? I can put it aside. No. Yeah. And the same thing. So I'm doing this. It's optional. Back home, they wouldn't do it, but I'm going to ask chef to blend this quickly. That's if you want to make it look fancy. Oh, so you have it. Oh, without good catch. Blend it without the Scotch bonnet. Unless you're one of those, though. I mean, I was going to say, in there goes well, just blending the Scotch, but another one actually, right? Making it even. Yeah, they have a tolerance for heat. That's that's quite spectacular. So, yeah, so that's fine. Isabel had blended some already here. And I am going to just simply pour the sauce. That's just simple sauce made out of tomato, onion, lime juice, a little bit of fish stock to bring that fermentation. You can taste it to make sure. That's what my mom told me. She'll taste at every stage. Wow. You had some in it. Huh? So, this is really good. Really, really good. You know, the layers of flavor that are hitting you are so special, and it's really very simple. This type of cuisine, I mean, you look at the ingredients that are involved here. Tomato, onion, fish sauce, scotch bonnet, and a bit of lemon juice. And you travel to Casamance just with experiencing this food. And here I'm just going to put some fonio in the center. Fonio likes to have sauce and broth around it. It absorbs it in a way that's really quite unique. See, it looks like couscous here, but it's, you know, it's not couscous. It's actually a grain. Couscous is turned into pastas. Couscous is a pasta, really, like this. So it's, you know, it can be a great substitution for your couscous, for your people, for those who don't want any gluten in their diet. It could be a way to have like a healthy and great dish. It doesn't have to be gluten tolerant or not. And so here on the side, I'm going to have some okra that I've blanched, because also a must when you're having caldo. That's a dish that comes with caldo. And we love it so much that we also make a sauce. In Senegal, when you have caldo, there's this other sauce that comes. It's a condiment, really, on the side. And it's okra, sorrel leaves, and just a little bit of water, and that dried fish that I mentioned earlier, the gage. So if you don't have it, like here, we didn't have it, so we use fish sauce. We use okra, sorrel leaves. We added a little bit of scotch bonnet. That's optional. You don't have it again here. And you just blanch it for 2 minutes and whisk it. You know, you're supposed to whisk it in a bowl, and that becomes this beautiful condiment. We call it Casamance, some call it sauce da. And if you don't have sorrel leaves, substitute it with spinach leaves and add a little bit of lime juice. That's going to bring that acidity that the sorrel leaves would bring. And the sauce da, it just comes on, either on top. You can serve it on top of the fish, simply like this, or you can have it, you know, around, whichever way. You can have fun with it, but let's keep it simple here. So that's, oh, sorry, I was on camera, okay. I tried to be the technician, the camera guy, and the whole thing, so it didn't work. And here, our dessert is ready, the chocolate pudding, as you can see. I don't know if you can, I don't see it, so you see it. I'm going to plate it. Obviously, to be cooled, not temperature, you can also refrigerate it, but let's do as they do in television. It's ready. So, you know, depending on how hungry you are, but fonio is very light, and this is something you're going to notice to digest very easy. You can eat a big bowl of fonio and go jogging right after, because it's like, that's how light it is. And in addition to all of that, you know, in our approach to cuisine in West Africa, the concept of food as medicine is very much a reality. So fonio is also recommended for people who have diabetes index. In addition to being very medicine, food is medicine is like is how we approach food. I don't know if you remember as a kid, but for me it was my mom, or my grandma, they always had a remedy. Anytime you're sick, the remedy was always a recipe. It was something that you would eat and that you'd enjoy eating as you're getting healed. And fonio had those properties. So here I'm putting some toasted coconut. on top. This mint leaf doesn't look beautiful. You know, you have to eat with your eyes first. Okay, this will do it. Et voilà. So we have a caldo with fonio. It's a dish from Senegal. In a few minutes, you're able to just travel by just using this grain that cooks in 5 minutes, and by using this grain, not only you're having a great experience enjoying it, but you're also having an impact because you are mindful of the, those challenges that all of us are facing, the food system that needs. The only way to do it is by integrating those underutilized crops. Some are called fonio, sorghum, millet. There are thousands of others. A big part of it is in growth. The other resilient than that. And that's what we have to think. Resiliency, we have to think of crops that are also resistant. Water is a big problem in this planet, and this is the kind of crops that can save us. And integrating them will make our menus and our food experiences so much more delicious, I guarantee you. So Michael will tell you more about it.
And it's such an honor to be here this morning. 11 years ago, I was a young lad in Greystone getting taught by incredible instructors like Rebecca Paiza, who has molded me to become who I am today. And working events and worlds of flavor to now being a speaker is just remarkable, and I'm quite honored. Chef Pierre has done so much work in bringing Fonio to the global front, and the whole continent is better for it. So thank you for all the work that you do. Today, we're going to be making Fonio in a way a little different from the typical way that we would make it in the traditional preparation in Nigeria or Senegal. Because I think when it comes to bringing value to an ingredient, it's very important to create diverse ways of expressing it so it can, from savory to dessert, also looking at the textures and the different ways that it can be utilized from grain to flour to crisps to crust. So we're going to be doing a fonio crusted salmon. It was supposed to be trout, but we didn't have good trout, so we're going to use salmon. It starts up very similarly. Chef has shown you how to cook fonio very easily in 5 minutes. Then we take it to, in my restaurant in Lagos, ИТАN, which literally means story or history. We take it to, we experiment with different ways of using our local ingredients. So we take the cooked fonio, and just like you would, have, quinoa or wheat that you dehydrate and puff, we do the same thing. We spread it on parchment. And then just evenly distribute it to allow it to dehydrate. Because it's a grain. When it's cooked, it absorbs moisture. When we dehydrate it about 60% to retain it, about 40% of its moisture. So when we puff it, it puffs. The moisture in it forces the grain to puff. We dehydrate this. Usually, if you have a dehydrator, you can dehydrate it for about maybe 3 hours, and you'll get the result that you want for the 60% dehydration. And what you'll get is this. It almost looks like the raw form of it, but it's very much cooked. And then we puff it. So we get the temperature of the oil to about 375 degrees Fahrenheit, and then we puff the grain. So it's kind of like, think of it as popcorn, and it's very crunchy. You can literally eat it like this. But what we're going to do with it, we're going to make it into a crumble to crust our fish. usually when you make a crumble to top things like fish or meat or, you know, whatever it is that you're trying to crust, you always have flour. You know, and I think, you know, it's kind of like defeating the purpose if we're using fonio and then we're incorporating butter and flour, which is wheat. So we decided to do it a little differently. We made flour with the dehydrated fonio. So we have a little bit of flour here that I'm going to mix with the puffed fonio. We have our herbs to give some freshness, cayenne, because we love a little bit of heat with our fish. And heat, capsaicin goes really beautifully with fish. And then we have butter to kind of bring it all together. And this is very easy. You can always do this at home. We just bind it together to create, you know, this moldable crust that we're going to just layer on top of the fish.
Let's take pictures. Let's take pictures.
How many of you have had fonio before? Fantastic, I love it. And you know, we're approaching this in a very savory way, but this can easily turn to a very sweet crust, very easily. Think about your graham cracker crust that you use in cheesecake. This can easily be a substitute for it. Just don't add the cayenne and the herbs. Add a little bit of sugar, maybe some nutmeg, you know, and then you easily have a crust, gluten-free crust, but made with fonio. Like chef's dessert, you can literally, for the coconut, the chocolate and coconut cream dessert, you can literally have this in the base of the dessert and make a chocolate mousse with a really, really nice fonio gluten-free crust. There's so many different ways to utilize ingredients when you really understand the molecular breakdown and the structures of how to manipulate them. So now we have our, what do I say, crust? All right, thank you, chef. Just gonna rinse this out a little. And you can do this, it doesn't have to be fish. It can be also a vegetable. Let's say you have cauliflower that you want to crust. You know, you can put this crust on your cauliflower and throw it in the oven, just as we're going to do the fish. Thank you, chef. So we have our salmon that we've shaped into just little nice squares. We grab a spoon, just a little bit, to just create this nice crust, evenly distributed, so they can cook evenly when they go in the oven. What else can you use this for? What would you like to use this for? I want people to just mention names. Chicken, perfect, right? Like a nice chicken breast, a nice layer of this fonio crust, some herbs. You can also play with the seasoning that you put in it. You know, you want to add some Cajun seasoning, you know, some jerk seasoning. All right, so we have a nice even crust. And just like Chef said, like we do on TV. Voila. For the next thing that we're going to do, we're going to create a sauce for it. Oftentimes when we eat fish in West Africa, it's often with a red sauce of some form. And in Nigeria, we have this sauce called atadidin. Atadidin literally means a fried pepper sauce. And what we've done to kind of rethink that is we've roasted the bell peppers, seed in, skin on, not removing any of the char, because that char is flavor. We have some caramelized onions, Scotch bonnet. We've de-seeded the Scotch bonnet intentionally because a lot of the capsaicin are in the seeds and the stem of the Scotch bonnet. We have some iru. a lot of people, when, Chef spoke about the umamis that we use in Nigeria and West Africa in general, from Dadawa to Iru. We have here Iru. Iru is a fermented locust beans. I smuggled this into the country so that we can eat it. So Iru, it's just beautifully complex. Think of it as the way you think of miso. It has, initially this very pungent aroma, but when you taste it, it's very beautiful. It has the umami complexities, some sweetness, and it adds, something very unique that is inherent to the way we eat to food. We have some fish stock that we've reduced, and we're just going to blend it. Bring all those flavors together. And we have some oil to emulsify it. It's always tricky when you're doing like little small portions of things, but we'll make it happen. All right, thank you, Chef. So now we've pureed it to really, really fine puree. Then we'll continue blending it, but we're going to emulsify with a little bit of vegetable oil. You can use grapeseed oil, you can use peanut oil, just to get that viscosity that you would have with a really, really smooth puree. And as you can see, all right, I'm looking for the camera now. All right, there it is. You have this beautiful, okay, there it is. You have this beautiful atadidi kuli. So the flavors you get from this, and you get to taste this later at the marketplace, you're going to get a lot of umami complexities, char from the peppers, a little capsaicin from the Scotch bonnet, the complexity of the iru, and we have our fish perfectly cooked now, and we have a little bit of the sauce here. We can also play with our food. I think one thing that is quite remarkable about how we talk about our food and how we tell different stories about what it is that we eat is the different ways we're able to create narratives and the creativity and the expression of art around our food. And that's what I really do at my restaurant in Lagos. I take what is local, what is indigenous, our stories around food and our ingredient, and we create tasting menus that expresses it in different ways. And this is something that we've done with Fonio and fish. We balance often with acid, especially like fatty fish, like salmon. You want a little bit of acidity. It's either you do that with tomatoes. Today I'm doing it with a little bit of lemon juice. Thank you. And then we just plate it. Very simple plating. And then we have our fish. When you taste this fish later, you're going to find that the crust on top is just really beautifully crunchy, and the fish is perfectly cooked on the inside. And then we just finish it with some herb oil that we've made from herbs in the garden at Greystone. Thank you.
So So thank you to Chef Thiam and Chef Elégbèdé. As they mentioned, both of their demos will be available to taste at today's marketplace. And now we're going to go to slides. Okay, there we go. So we are now headed into the seminars and kitchen workshops that you have all signed up for. These are 1-hour sessions or kitchen workshops which are listed on the back of your badge. Thank you to the sponsors at Gold and Above who help make many of these breakout sessions possible. And reminding you again that in response to attendee feedback and in the interest of sustainability, we attach all recipes for your seminars or workshops to each session in the app. If you're not sure what you've signed up for, you can look on the back of your badge. And if you don't see it there or you want to make changes, you can open the conference app, click on the schedule, and you can view your choices of breakouts under My Schedule. If you want to switch to another breakout under all sessions, you can do that. And if you have any questions, please see our team, Andrea and Onika, at the hospitality desk. So I'm going to ask you all to look at the back of your badges right now. Let me see if I have another. Okay, there we go. Who is registered for Seminar 1, the Ghana table with Chefs Zoe Ajonia and Nana Araba Wilmot? Okay, you're staying here, staying put. Our session is here. And then Seminar 3, Exploring the Botanical Bounty of West Africa. Okay, so you are going to, you're going to walk out of Ecolab here on the ground floor, walk past the hospitality desk, which will be on your left, and the gift shop on your right, and you're going to the private dining rooms 1 and 2, and they will be on your right. And then we've got the Afro-Atlantic Rice Kitchen in Napa Valley Vintners Theater. It's the same thing. You're going to come out here on the ground floor, and you're just going to walk to the other end of the building and walk right into Napa Valley Vintners Theater. And then we've had a change with Workshop B, The Real Caribbean, with Simeon Hall Jr., Nelson Herman, and Brett Thorne. It originally was at the Woodstone Outdoor Live Fire Kitchen, but now it's going to be in the restaurant. And so that will be a walk out, and that will be on your right. And then we have who's going to Workshop A, Low Country Cuisine with BJ Dennis, David Patience, Cayman, and Kathy Nash Hawley. Okay, that's great. You're going to go upstairs. So you can either come out here and then go upstairs, or you can go up these stairs right here. If you go up here, it's in the Chuck Williams Culinary Museum. You're going to walk past Heston Kitchen, and it will be on your right, and you'll see it's got all these beautiful dishes and things like that in there. And then after the seminars, enjoy the tastings and flavor discovery break in the Atrium and Connect Lounge on the first floor, before we will come back here to Ecolab for the 11 a.m. general session, where Diana Tandia, Christy Brown, and Shanari Greens-Freeman will be in conversation with Jamila Robinson about how to establish a personal vision in a restaurant setting. So thank you.